is with disgrace and disgust and almost disbelief that I address you this day due to the disturbing pain and disturbing disgust that the people of Ontario and people of Toronto and this great country, Canada, will have for those we have entrusted to enforce the laws that are made in the province of Ontario and in this great country, Canada. Doug, in 2016, a man who was the biggest menace to a man he has utmost of respect for. And I must have the utmost of respect for your brother, Rob Ford. For it is in reality and truth that Rob Ford and I seem to have been great enemies due to the passion I had during the Rob Ford eras and addressing things that I feel he was not addressing to the level needed to for the wellness of the people of the city of Toronto. Yet, a lot of things may seem one way, but it's really a different way. I was very, 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 very hard on Robert. And I had to be. I had to be hard on Rob. And in a discussion me and Rob had, within the first 24 hours of him being elected mayor of Canada's largest city, and a discussion we had during his term at the debate in Scarborough. See, I was tough on Rob because Rob was brought in as a replacement in 2000. And what year was it? The first one that I think it was 2010. Now, the media will not tell you this because the media has always seeked to have a mayor to oversee Canada's largest city. That's the media friendly. Someone that will be there for photo ops, someone that will be there to put forth an image. And unfortunately, fortunately for the people of Toronto, that's not the type of mayor I will be. I will be a mayor that will follow on some of the legacy that Robert Ford brought to the city of Toronto. I am right now, Douglas, where I am forced to lay my head to rest. And after I address you, I will be addressing a man who I do feel I can learn to fully respect, and I can have the same honorable respect for him that you have earned. That is Prime Minister Mark Carney. I have listened, Mark, to when you gave your speech about your visions for Canada, and that was when you got my respect. If you are sincere by the words you speak. See, Mark, I'm not a liberal supporter, and always, I have respect for you, Mr. Carney. Don't get me wrong. I do have respect for you because I live by the words you spoke about your vision for Canada. But do not have respect for the Liberal Party. And that is not because my mother's been a liberal all her life, and most of my family. But the reason I do not have any respect for the Liberal Party is due to our former Deputy Prime Minister, who I believe is just an opportunist. Chrystia Freeland. Chrystia Freeland. My history with Chrystia Freeland. You can look up Kevin Clark arrested in Toronto City. But for that to have happened, I had to be handcuffed and shackled. And this was right in the face of Chrystia Freeland, my opponent. Unlawfully. A violation of all my charter rights. And at all the debates where I announced that I would show up, it was such a despicable disgrace that our Deputy Prime Minister would have been elected to a federal member of Parliament, but at what expense? I remember the debate, aside from the debate at the University of Toronto, which you can view, and you will be disgusted to view that, right? It brings back memories of George Floyd, similar, except I did not die, right? And at Jarvis Collegiate, what a disgrace. I show up at Jarvis Collegiate and I said I would. And imagine that. They had police waiting out front of the collegiate. In the event I show up, to in turn ushered me into a police car. I believe someone has videotaped that, and it possibly can be found. We can research it. And in turn, took me to 51 Division Police Station. What a disgrace. Took me to 51 Division Police Station. Station, the officers offered me a cigarette. Kevin, would you like to smoke? Because you guys wouldn't allow people to smoke. So let's just go in, do what you gotta do, and what am I being charged for? The officers informed me that, oh, you're not being charged, Kevin. What? So why am I here? Why am I taking this station? Well, you got a choice, Kevin. You can be it's a booking, and you can be here all night, or we can drive you home. Say what? Why? You were going to bring me in and hold me in thought, or, or drive me home. Yeah. Well, that don't make no sense. Well, we have to keep you here until 11 o'clock. You, oh, okay. I attempt to question it at first, but then I realized it. At first I said, what? And keep me at the 11. I was about to say why, and then I said, oh, okay. Because that's when the debate finished. So, you have a police car, and you use the badge of a law enforcement officer when God says be subjected to the government authority and respect the law. And you use the badge of a law enforcement officer to violate a right to the Canadian citizen and hold it against his will at a police station to do a political favor for someone so that he does not return back to a debate where he's a candidate. Imagine that. So that is why I will never have any support or respect for the Liberal Party of Canada as long as Chrystia Freeland is a member of that party that is seeking leadership role. It was a disgusting, despicable, disgraceful way for someone who later on in life became the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. I don't know who would have made that decision. And so that and that issue there. And we are going to be addressing a couple other issues with you, Mr. Carney, and the elected government and the House of Commons. For what most people in the city do not know is that we did pull out the most historical, legal, political challenge in Canadian political history for the office of mayor in the city of Toronto, where I did contest the election of Olivia Chow to the Superior Court of Ontario, the Superior Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court of Canada, and on the Section 2 and Section 73 of the Supreme Court of Canada Rule of Law. We are now taking one step further, and we will be asking the House of Commons to debate and to take all the evidence from all those cases and to decide on a vote by all members of the federal government if Olivia Chow was in fact elected legally under Canadian laws or in fact was elected in a rigged election by the Toronto media, and a full investigation into the decision of Judge Centra in the first case, which was upheld in the Superior Court of Appeals in Ontario and the Supreme Court of Canada. Go on, hurry up. Go, walk. Come on, dude. Come on. If you're going to live underneath a bridge, dude, okay, this is where I live. Okay? So if you live under here, go to where you live. It's like 2 o'clock in the damn morning. Okay? You can't be spooking the dog. The dog ain't gonna bother you. Okay? But the dog's protecting his home. We've been ordered here by corrupt cops of 43 Division Toronto Police, who in turn were protecting, we believe, their drug interests in Toronto Community House. We believe that we can prove, without a doubt, that numerous officers in 43 Division collaborated to get rid of me and to do favor for Toronto Community Housing, who in turn is Canada's #1 drug dealers, #1 corrupt criminal organization acting as a housing corporation, when in reality it's a housing corruption agency, and we believe that there's a large amount of federal and provincial money that is being funneled through illegal acts in Toronto Community Housing. We will address the issue of Christia Freeland and the Olivia Chow case that we will be contesting to the House of Commons in Canada for them to debate on the validity and the violation of the people's democratic rights in Canada to have fair elections without any foreign interference. And we believe that there was foreign interference, which is domestic. Foreign meaning something or someone that does not belong. And we believe that the Toronto media interfered. They were a foreign source and debate organizers who did not, who violated the Charter of Rights and violated the people's democratic rights when we believe they collaborated to rig an election to elect one of 6 specific individuals while ignoring the majority, the 95 other percent. That we will address later on. Currently, we will like to address a despicable, disgusting, disgraceful, totally against the principle of Canada, the province of Ontario, and law enforcement. I was ordered to my death, literally, by corrupt officers of 43 divisions in Scarborough, and we believe that they collaborated with 2 other agencies that in this case now has exposed extreme corrupt behaviors, corrupt actions, and corrupt violation of the use of taxpayers' money. We believe these agencies are defrauding the public of the valid service that they require from all 3 of these. Now, to make something clear, before this incident, I have the utmost of respect for members of Toronto Fire, and I believe, in the past 100 days, I'd be lucky if I got 100 hours sleep, because this is where the fire marshal, I have been told, I received some documentation on evidence, I will be reading it soon, but I've been told that the fire marshal was the one who made the ludicrous, unbelievable determination that a fire on March 30th, 2025, in my home at approximately 2:44 p.m., somewhere around that time, the fire marshal, according to information given to me by officers in the Toronto Police this service, but knowing there's so much corruption in that force now, and God bless Officer Waddell, who I met this morning, and he has known me from decades ago in Parkdale, and out of respect. What? Hennessy, what's up? Well, you want to get up on the bed? Go. Okay, up on the bed. Okay, so I have to take the dog because this is where we're ordered to live. Come on, Nancy, up. Now, also, though, we are going to show that this corruption, though, seems to go far deeper than just Toronto Fire, Toronto Police, and Toronto House. So you see the head of Toronto House now is the former head of Toronto Corrupt Housing Corporation. He is now the city manager. Oh my God, the city's in trouble. All these walls spoke about this case, about the attempt murder of a Canadian citizen and a dog. We believe it's constituted as attempt murder because these individuals deliberately laid false charges against a Canadian citizen that they knew without any doubt were untrue. They knew that these charges they were laying was impossible. There was a zero possibility that they could be true. You see, at the time of the fight, you notice all these walls of beer. All of them, they add the details of the attempt murder by officers in the Toronto Police about corruption. And these here, and you can go on YouTube, and the Toronto World Peace Movement challenge to American President, Mr. Donald Trump. Now, all these spoke about Toronto World Peace Movement, about ending wars, violence that leads to orphans, widows, suffering, pain, and anguish. That's what it said clearly. These walls here clearly said attempt murder of a Canadian citizen by corrupt officers of the Toronto Police Service. And here, and also down there. Now also, during this disgusting, disturbing disregard for the laws of this country and the respect of the law by these officers, these corrupt officers. Now, I'm not telling anybody not to respect the law. Respect the law, but do not have any respect for corruption. And so many officers were involved in this corruption, this disgusting display of disrespect and disregard for the laws of this province and this country. But yet, no lawman stepped up to stop it. That's also a concern. See, came here was a notice saying we were camping. Me and my animal in that camping. We are trying to save our life because of disgusting disregard of the laws and the rights of this country by corrupt individuals in Toronto community housing that seem to have coerced Toronto Fire and the Toronto Police to lay false zero possibility of conviction or truth against a Canadian citizen that could have led to the death of this animal. Cruelty to animal, endangering an animal and endangering the life of a human being. This is what these individuals do. This animal went through 2 fires, an extreme snowstorm, an extreme rainstorm. This animal went through everywhere we go. We were stocked. Get away. Stocked. We were stocked by so many officers from the disgrace of the police service. We were stocked. We were stocked to a field. It was infested with garbage, like this bridge was when we got here. We cleaned it all up. We put up the fence. We made it respectable and made safe for these animals. The police, about 6 or 8 cars came, and they ordered me and the dog. They said we're trespassing. And there was no complaint from the property owner. But yet, the property owner was called by the police when the police didn't even have the property owner's number. They didn't even know who the property owners. This shows how despicable this corruption, corrupt behavior by these officers in 43 different world. That they would stop this man, who they banned from his home where he paid his rent. This man, who they put through an ordeal of obstruction of justice, when this man's animals, two loving family members, his two cats, who had 4 litters together, 15, 20 cats, they act together. And this man brought all these animals through the birth and fed them. And in turn, he never even got to mourn their death when they died in the fire of Williams. But back to the Springfield City. All this was infested with litter. And the man who they ordered to death with his dog cleaned it up. Cleaned it all up. He said, well, those who came to him, and while thousands of people drove by, he and his dog were lying out there, right in plain view, hungry, thirsty, dehydrated. Yet, all these people passed by. And they reminded you of the Judas in the days of Jesus, because they ignored these people in extreme money and food. Money, ignored the needs of these people. Came down here, give hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day for drugs and alcohol. And they ignored the needs of humanity. And God says never give your pearls to swines, but they deny food to us when we're hungry, water to us when we're thirsty. Give it to those who don't live down here, who don't live on the streets, like down here to me. And in turn, this man still, after that betrayal, cleaned up. This man could have gone there and asked for money, but he puts humanity and truth for money anytime. All these cleaned up with his own 2 hands. One of the main reasons these were promised. Now all these are the water, that doctrine. That's another stuff. So this man had to supply, cover the cost, all that. But one, take a look at the difference. You will see photos of the cesspool I was before, infested with needles, crack pipes, old garments, stuff that's been there for hell knows how long. Probably since the first day when the child started to turn. Yeah, take a look at the difference. And these walls, which was this man's attempt to save his life or the life of another, his dog. So he posted the details of this injustice because he knew why these officers would feel they could do this. Total disrespect for Canadian laws because they knew they were using the court system and the policies the courts have that says you shouldn't speak about the case, you can't speak about the case until it's tried. So this will get back to why I address you, Douglas Ford, because that needs to be changed. There need to be a public or citizen, well not citizen, because it should be all members of the public, people arrested by police. Protection Act. And this act will see that it takes the power that the police now has taken away from the Canadian Charter of Rights. The police say that they are above the Charter of Rights. They are the replacement of the Charter of Rights. That is basically what this case says. Because if the Charter of Rights is valid still in Canada, then no way the police could have handcuffed me, threatened to have me free into jail, hotel, or sick in jail for as long as the courts take to get to me. Unless I agree that I should do what they wanted me to do. If I agree to let them do what Toronto Corrupt Housing Corporation has been trying to do for right after since I got there, and I vowed that I would make community housing fit for children to grow, children to play, and people to live their life peacefully with proper maintenance, safety, and repairs, within the respect of the law in this province, in this country. And exactly what I said I was out to do is what I did. We will attach a large amount of videos you will see of the extensive amount of work we did to fulfill that goal. And that work we did interfered with Toronto Corrupt Housing drug dealing operation and their money laundering or funneling of money through the taxpayer funded housing corporation to contractors, and the majority of them weren't even legally entitled to work in Canada. And we can't see. Some contractors, you will see videos were provided where they'll ask how long they've been in the country. 3 months. How long have you been in the country? 6 months. How long have you been in the country? 9 months. Well, knowing, speaking, what? You have been in the country for half a year and you get a high-paid job in a government agency? So many of them disregard the rights of tenants and their citizenship, saying, you don't pay us government money, but you care. Government money. I'm telling you. Some of the videos and the evidence we're going to produce is going to make you sick to your stomach. Make you sick to your stomach. Make you sicker than sick. To see the total disregard that these corporations let corrupt individuals have for the rights of Canadians due to their wants to label them as mental instability or having mental issues. You will be totally and stepping up beyond disgust. Beyond disgust at the total abuse of those who they consider less fortunate, either due to mental health issues, due to disability, or due to financial resources or influence. When you see the conditions, it's some human beings were left living in Toronto. You will have no doubt that the word corrupt is an understatement to describe. I remember when I had to get a super, a light bulb. Like I've been 90 feet or something up. Well, about 30 feet up. I was falling down on a kid's playground. To get it, replacement was so totally rusted out. And what I was told, when I spoke to one individual, he said, oh yeah, well speak to Kevin about money. Kevin works a lot of money. Drug dealers do love money. Okay? And it was, if I didn't experience it, and you told me it was the way it is, yeah, okay, give me a break. Something like that for that. But back to these corrupt actions. So, the Toronto Police has said that they are about to charge the rights, and they can take away anyone's charge of the rights. Because if they cannot, I'm a Canadian citizen whose rent is paid for last month, a month before, and this month. Yet I am not allowed to go within 500 meters of my house. Because the police said, I ain't got money. Put me in the back of a cop car. And when I didn't agree and speak out against these beyond false charges, they're just like beyond ridiculous, without any doubt. Now, will be proven, right? They said, well, we can give you a Form 10, and you can go now. And they said, yeah, well, if you agree with what we want, then, hey, because they found passion for the dog, hey, the dog went up to the units. And she's 13 years old. And she had an extreme massive human abuse. And I'm told so much time that if I turn her into human society, I'll put her down. You know, but if you agree, we can let you out today. Hold it. A man tried for arson, and if this arson charge is true, you would let them out. By the way, isn't not arson a serious act? A serious, deliberate act that endangers the lives of human beings? Who in their right mind would charge someone with arson and say, okay, you're charged now, go. Say what? You also know that these officers are corrupt and these were extremely disgusting, despicable, disregard of the law, and they proved it. How? By them trying to make it seem like more, like it was really serious. But by them doing that, that was how they got caught. They also charged you for endangering animals, mischief, and mischief endangering humans, and negligence endangering animals and endangering humans. How do you know they were totally corrupt? Number one, if I had agreed, they'd give me that same animal. One of the animals, they charged me for endangering it. Oh, you say that your charges were real, but yet the same animal that you are charging this person for endangering, you gave back to him. You gave back the same animal. Oh, if you're a law enforcement officer, you're not going to give the animal someone you charge criminals for endangering back the same day. And order them not to go back to their home without no food, no water, and it's freezing cold right now. Who's endangering the animal? And who's endangering the human? Is it not you who you are in such an unlawful way? And my phone's going to die out, so they charge you with negligence and mischief. Arson is a serious deliberate act. There cannot be no negligence or mischief that would come in an arson charge. That's how you know they were stacking up charges to try and make him seem like wow, holy, so serious, and so much to try and do Osmond a favor to get rid of this man unlawfully in violation of all the rights of the country and by banning him from his home, a violation of his Charter of Rights and Mobility Rights, which in turn you are saying when someone has you think is mentally ill, that you want to target when you arrest them, that means they are guilty. Because yeah, these are just regular serious regular charges. Legally under Canadian and Ontario law. There's no way you could have banned and ordered someone not to go back to their home and put a sentence on them. And that is a sentence without them even having a trial. And this is before they leave their first court date. So what you're saying is that in Toronto, upon accusation, the police can lay a charge that would take away your rights on the child rights and your rights to be innocent. Because if these corrupt individuals were being Canadian law, how could they put a sentence of homelessness on the victim of an electrical fire that started approximately somewhere around 2 till 2:15 in the afternoon? And they say that the individual told them that he got up after a meal, their neighbor brought him, and started to smoke a cigarette. After they put it out, there was no alarm, but they smelled something. And then he checked the room, and oh my God, tsunami of smoke hit him with an electrical fire overpowering. He ran in to try to save the person who had just walked his dog and then had dropped off his dog while he had left to go downstairs to get fed. Anyway, he came back and saw the dog. He figured the person was in the room. The person in turn didn't tell him that he had went out to get cigarette butts, and she was there, and he said, oh, he would have been dead. He said, no, because when the fire started, I would have been able to put it out. And the person stated that he plugged an old cell phone, which used the oldest in back, into a faulty wire socket. Because ours would normally use contractors, not because they have a license. Contractors, they act, oh, you don't do electrical? Oh, yeah, okay. And your brother Joe works for housing? Okay. All right, well, tell your brother Jim that he can come in and do some electrical. So if you send a Friday, can you come up and check the skills not working? Oh, hey, Joe, your brother said, you do the electrical. Yeah. Oh, he just came into the country? Okay, he doesn't. He can come in as a contractor. He can go this unit and fix the electrical. And in turn, the police, 3 hours after, said I commit arson to my own 2 kids. But I didn't see a homeless person I thought was there, but who had left. Then saved the dog. Then pushed the fire alarm. Then ran with smoke detector to try to put it out. And saved the homes of all the tenants in a 21-story building with about 30 units on each floor and their children. So you're saying that this man who alleged alleged to be an arsonist would deliver a lighter cigarette. And from 2:44 till 3 p.m., it burnt down a room where the door was closed. And he was lighting a cigarette in another room. That's what the police says. That's what they say. He said, arsonist said, yep. Well, you said a little cigarette. Imagine that. And 3 hours later, come to that conclusion. But yet, over 90 days, relax. Tell us how you expect to prove this happened. You say, oh, well, we haven't made that up yet. We haven't made that up yet. Imagine that. Making up charges to do favors for a corrupt housing corporation. So you can secretly, or these officers, looks like you're funding the drug dealers who are set up in certain different units. And we're asking for a full public inquiry into how this could happen. In Toronto, Ontario, how could a system allow police officers to obstruct justice, to make up charges they know clearly warrant you, and they know there is zero possibility of a possible conviction, for there is zero possibility that this person could have done what they said, because also at that time, there is zero possibility, because at that time, this person was the applicant in Canada's highest court contesting the election of the mayor of Canada for the first time in Canadian history. So tell me, what motive could this person have to burn down a room in his house and kill his two-bigger two close love animals? Zero. Because even if they were insane or crazy or whatever, they wouldn't do this if they were fighting for the people in Canada's highest court at the same time. Why? It's impossible that somebody would say, I'm here for 15 months, two big name lawyers to Canada's highest court, and then say, okay, let me just kill my two kids. And we also look for the immediate removal, no pension, no funds, no transfer to different jobs. Officers who were the lead in this case. For they, in turn, spread greater corruption. To God be the glory. Premier Ford, I invite you to join us on June 17th. The 16th or 17th, I believe it's the 17th, in the Ontario Court of Justice, as we protest police officers and corruption, who decide for their own purpose to violate the integrity of the law. And we also expect for a public civilian protection act or law to be put in place that no longer does the police get to make the final decision on whether somebody's going to be charged or not. Once they arrest them, and once they tell them of the charges they're going to lay, then each person who was arrested who says, I am innocent, should be brought in front of a board. And that board should actually hear the case of both sides. And then they will make an unbiased decision. God be glory.